Hi guys, my name is Lily and today I want to show you how I set up my arrows. And as you guys know, I'm shooting bows and arrows quite a lot, and yeah, as I remember, I've always made my arrows myself, and at first I was using wooden shafts, but actually I have to say I'm not a big fan of them because yeah, they are not as straight as carbon arrows. And this one here is a carbon arrow. I'm a huge fan of them. The brand of this one here is Gold Tip and it has a spine of 500, and I shoot these arrows with a bow that comes with 40 pounds. And yeah, the spine is quite right for this bow. Now, as you can see, this arrow here already came with a knock point which was already glued in, and it's no problem to glue in these knock points. I would use any kind of glue that gets very hard, like this one here. This is Uhu Hard. So this is a very good glue for the knock point. And as you can see, I've already have glued on 2 feathers onto the shaft. And for this I have used this fletching jig by Bear Paw. And fletching jigs are really important, so I highly recommend that you get one. And yeah, you can try to do it by hand, but you will never get as accurate as with the flexing jig. And why is this so important? Because as you can see when you take a look at this jig, is that the jig will turn the feather a little bit. So basically the jig does this with the feather, and this is important because you never want to set a feather straight on the arrow shaft. You always want to have it a little bit twisted like so, because then when all of the 3 arrows are twisted into the same direction, the arrow is going to spin like this. And a spinning arrow is always more stable in the air and it's going to be more accurate. So this is why I recommend a fletching jig. Now before we glue on the feather, I want to come to the tip, which is not glued in, as you can see. And for the tip, I do not recommend using glues like this, which get very hard, or any other glues, super glues or something like that. Doesn't work, because on the tip you're going to have a lot of vibration. The arrow is flexing quite a lot when it's flying in the air, and then when it hits the target there's a lot of vibration which goes through all of the arrow. And if you use super glue or this glue here, this vibration will sooner or later loosen the glue, and then the next time when you shoot into a target and pull out your arrow again, the tip will stick in the target, and then you don't have a tip anymore. And that's what happened to me at the beginning very often. But then I found a solution, which is hot glue. Hot glue is pretty flexible and soft even when it's hardened out, and it can easily take these vibrations. Now for the tip you need to use 2 parts. First of all, here I have this practicing tip, and also here I have an aluminum insert. And the first thing that you want to do is you want to screw in the practicing tip into the aluminum insert. And next I'm going to use some hot glue, apply it to the top of the aluminum insert, and then I'm going to stick it into the arrow. And that's the first thing that we are going to do today. So now I'm heating up the hot glue, and I try to do it very evenly. This should be fine. Just now gonna apply it here to the aluminum insert, and now I stick it into the arrow like so. The next thing that you want to do is you want to reheat the insert, but you don't want to reheat it here at the carbon shaft. You want to heat it at the very tip. So now the heat gets transferred to the aluminum insert, and let's see if this was enough. Yeah, so now I could push in the tip into the shaft. So now you see that there's a little bit of like hot glue left over. I'm just going to pick that off with my hands, like so. And that's your tip. Now the great thing about hot glue is that you can pull out the tip again. You just need to reheat the tip, like so. And then you take some pliers and you rip out the tip again. And this won't damage the shaft. When do you have to take out the aluminum insert? For example, let's say you want to cut off the shaft because the spine is not right and you want to make it a little bit stiffer. Then you need to take out the aluminum insert, cut off the arrow, like here or so, and then you take the insert and insert it into the shaft at this place here. Okay, now let's say you want to cut off the arrow because maybe the spine wasn't right or so. The first thing that you're going to need is an iron saw, like this one here. But you don't want to cut off the carbon shaft like this, because otherwise it will break at the underside. And to prevent this, you're just going to take a little bit of electrical tape and wrap it around the carbon shaft. And now you could cut off the carbon shaft and then it won't break out. So that's a small trick that I have learned from another archer. Right now I don't want to cut off this arrow because first I want to check the spine, and maybe I'm going to cut off the arrow another day. Alright, so now we have our tip glued in, and yeah, next I want to glue on the last feather. And there's another thing that I want to explain. As you can see here, I have two colors. I have this white color and I have two feathers with the green color. Now it's important that the odd color, in this case the white color, sits perpendicular to the bowstring. So if you take a look at the knock point, which is important when you set on the feathers, it's important that the odd feather sits perpendicular to the bowstring. So the bowstring goes like this, and the feather, the odd feather, needs to sit here, right? So this is important. As you see, I'm using 3 feathers for my arrows, but you can also use like 4 feathers or 6 feathers, but I believe that using 3 feathers is really the most common style. Okay, so now I'm taking my feather and put it into the chick. Now when I put it into the chick, I make sure that I don't put it right to the end of the chick, but I leave a little bit of a gap. So that's because I don't want the feathers to be right at the end of the knock point, because you always need to grab the arrows a little bit with your fingers, and then you don't want to touch your feathers all of the time. So there's a little bit of distance between the knock point and the feathers. So we leave a little bit of a gap between the end of the chick and the actual start of the feather. And this is how you insert the feather into the chick. You just take it and put it into the chick like this, making sure that the feather, the actual feather, is stuck inside, but the base of the feather is showing here. So this is how you do it. And the distance from here to here should always be the same to ensure a consistent fletching. Now this chick here works with a magnet. You just put it on the chick and it will hold by itself, and then you press on the feather onto the arrow. But first we need to apply some glue, and as I said before, I'm using Uhu hard. I don't know if you get this in the US for the feathers. It's important that you use enough of glue to make it hold on the shaft, but you shouldn't use too much of glue. Otherwise you will have a residue beside the feather. And that's it. And you can use your finger for the glue so that it's getting distributed evenly. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. Now we have to wait until the glue has dried out, and this will take a couple of hours with this glue here. Maybe you can find another glue which is hardening out faster. But yeah, as I said before, this is fine, and I will be back in a couple of hours. Alright, now let's see if the glue has hardened. Yeah, great. So now I have an arrow which has 3 even feathers. Pretty awesome. And the last thing that we need to do is we need to cover the beginning of the feathers with electrical tape, because otherwise the feathers will get ripped off when you're shooting the bow, because when the arrow goes over the shelf, it always will, collide with the feathers here. And there are 2 ways that you can protect your feathers. First one is by binding some small cordage on it and wrap it around the beginning of the feathers, or the much easier way is to just take this electrical tape here and then you just put it on to the feathers like so, like this, and now you have an arrow which doesn't lose its feathers anymore. Okay, this was how I set up my arrows. Pretty awesome. It's not really a science or anything to set up an arrow, but there are some tips which are good to know. So this was my video about how to set up arrows. Pretty cool, and I love archery. And yeah, leave me a comment. Maybe you have another pro tip that I didn't know yet. And yeah, thank you for... Ow! Ah! I'm an idiot. Okay, bye.